On a quiet Friday evening in Gloucestershire, a car slipped through the gates of Highgrove House. No cameras, no press pen, no palace photographer waiting on the lawn. Inside that car, Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and two children King Charles had not held in his arms in over 4 years. For one hushed afternoon, it looked like the royal family's most painful chapter was finally closing. But behind the garden walls of Highgrove, a very different story was unfolding. One royal insider put it bluntly, this was not reconciliation. Not yet. Maybe not ever. So what actually happened behind those gates? And why are royal experts warning the public not to believe the fairy tale? To understand why one quiet tea party at Highgrove is being called not enough, you have to go back to where it all fell apart. Since 2022, Harry and Meghan have barely set foot on British soil together. The last time the king saw Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet in person was during the mourning of Queen Elizabeth II. Then came Spare. Harry's explosive memoir tore open old wounds, accusations, private family details, and a portrayal of Camilla that, insiders say, Charles has never fully forgiven. Then came the security battle. Harry sued the UK government after losing his taxpayer-funded police protection. He lost, and in a raw, emotional BBC interview, he said something that shook the palace to its core. Harry arrived in London for a week of charity engagements tied to the Invictus Games. On paper, it was simple. In reality, it became chaos. First, Buckingham Palace claims Harry missed a deadline to accept an offer to stay at the palace during his visit. His team says he did accept once his own security was arranged. The palace flatly denied it. A war of statements, playing out in headlines, before the trip even began. Then came the bigger blow. The UK government refused to extend police protection to Meghan and the children outside royal properties. As late as July 4th, just days before the reunion, reports confirmed Meghan and the kids would not be joining Harry at all. Harry, sources say, was frantically working behind the scenes to arrange private security, just to make it possible for his own children to set foot in the country of their birthright. And in the middle of all this, Harry suffered a devastating legal defeat. The High Court dismissed his years-long lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail, a case he'd fought alongside Elton John and Elizabeth Hurley over alleged phone tapping and unlawful surveillance. Gone. Just like that. On Friday, July 10th, the Sussex family flew in quietly from an undisclosed European destination. By the afternoon, Harry, Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet were walking through the gates of Highgrove House, King Charles's most private, most personal estate. This wasn't Sandringham. It wasn't Windsor. Highgrove is where Charles spent decades building his own sanctuary. The Gardens is famous for the Club H hideaway Harry once wrote about in Spare, the place he and William used to escape to as boys. Charles and Camilla welcomed them in. No photographers. No official statement beyond a single confirming line from the palace. It was, by every account, the first time the king had seen his grandchildren in person in over 4 years. The family reportedly stayed nearby at Althorpe House, the childhood home of Princess Diana, and the site of her grave. For a few hours, cameras were shut out completely, and for royal watchers around the world, it felt like history. Within hours, the story exploded. Headlines called it a breakthrough. Fans flooded timelines, calling it the moment the royal family finally healed. Some outlets went as far as to call it the most significant Sussex reunion since the family stepped back in 2020. But not everyone was celebrating. Because while Harry and his father were behind closed doors in Gloucestershire, Prince William and Kate were miles away at a charity polo match in Windsor, raising millions of pounds for their own causes. No meeting with William. No contact reported at all. The brothers who once shared secret hideouts of that very same estate remain, by every account, world apart. Royal commentator Richard Fitzwilliams, one of the most respected voices in this world, delivered a sobering reality check. He said that despite the surprise gathering, the real reconciliation between father and son has not yet even begun. His reasoning is simple, and honestly, hard to argue with. This wasn't a quiet family visit. It happened at the tail end of a trip already consumed by scandal, accommodation rows, security disputes, and a public court defeat. The media circus, he argues, was already in full swing before the family ever reached Highgrove's gates. And then came the part that stopped a lot of viewers cold. Fitzwilliams noted that he hopes the seed of real reconciliation has already been planted, especially given that the king is 77 and fighting cancer, but warned that if it has, it will take a long time, and it will require silence from the Sussexes, with no interviews about the meeting. Think about what that means. The expert isn't questioning whether the family loves each other. He is questioning whether trust, real, lasting trust, can survive the next headline, the next interview, the next leak. Other royal insiders have echoed the same theme for months. One commentator close to the palace put it this way: reputational damage doesn't disappear in a single afternoon. If the Sussexes want a real relationship with the king, it will have to happen strictly on the institution's terms, private, controlled, and press-free. Buckingham Palace has confirmed the meeting happened, and nothing more. No details about the conversations. No indication of whether this becomes a pattern or stays a one-time gesture. What we do know: the king continues cancer treatment behind the scenes. Treatment insiders say has recently been reduced. Every meeting with Harry now carries extra emotional weight, because nobody knows how much time is truly left. Meanwhile, Harry's visit did have one undeniable win. The Invictus Games got a major 1 year to go spotlight ahead of Birmingham 2027, the event closest to his heart. But the central relationship, the one between a king and his son, remains, by the account of the people who watch his family closest, unresolved. Fragile, unfinished,